Hello, everybody. I'm Isaias.
Irene Castrita.
I asked my wife Irene if we can do a reading from my novel, The Crow's Aura, The Path to Forgiveness. So we just want to do this little short reading of some of the stuff that stands out to Irene and some stuff that it stands out to me. We'll read about it and we'll discuss behind the scenes what I was thinking at that time, because the novel is based on my life and it is mixed with fiction, but I guess not too far from fiction. Some of this stuff I really did experience, but it seems very fictitious.
So here, I'm just going to read a short passage. Okay. Hey, Mom, are there black canaries? I asked while I listened to our pet birds sing. My mother had cages filled with colorful canaries spread throughout our one-bedroom apartment. Some of the birds, including the red-orange canary I was watching, would come out of their cages and fly around. You can imagine how beautiful it was to watch colorful birds circling our living room. It was an amazing sight, especially for an 8-year-old boy who woke up to their singing every day. Oh, yes, son, there are black canaries, my mother said. Although you must go into the depths of the forest to find them. They are very hard to find. As it is, the man I buy my birds from said that he's traveled to various forests and islands and has only seen their aura. He said that the black canaries are so magical that when they fly off, their presence still lingers. I was intrigued by my mom's answer, and it inspired me to ask her another question. Mom, you know how my aunts are into magic and reading the tarot cards? I asked. How come I never see you do that? I feel like you have so much to give. Do you do it when we're not around? My mother was cleaning the bird cages while the birds flew and sang freely around the house. She stopped cleaning and turned her head toward me. Her eyes widened. I don't have those gifts like my sisters do. How did they know they had those gifts? I asked, my full attention on my mother. Since they were little girls, they would have moments of clairvoyance. One day, your Aunt Raquel was introduced to the tarot cards, and since then, she's used them as a guide, my mother explained. I know you're the main sorceress. You can tell me. Go on, tell me the truth. You're magical, huh, Mom? I said teasingly. A part of me really felt my jokes were true. She laughed. What makes you say that, son? It's your aura. I can feel it even when you're not around. It is so strong yet soothing. Are you the black canary? I asked while holding my laughter. She just smiled and her eyes looked deeply into mine. I blinked. So what does it make you feel hearing this passage?
Well, it really brings back memories because we lived in a one bedroom apartment and there was birds, colorful birds flying all around us, and we've talked about with our daughters and with my older kids how I'm a storyteller, but truthfully, the master storytellers were my parents.
Yeah.
My mom is an amazing storyteller.
His mom is hilarious.
Makes you laugh through the whole story. You want more, like when you listen to her. And growing up with her, like I would ask her these innocent questions, right? I'm a little 8-year-old kid and I'm seeing birds around the house flying and they're beautiful singing. And I would ask her like, Mom, well, I see all these colors, but is there a black one, right? And she was like, yeah, there is. And my dad, same thing. But he brought a different flavor. He brought a different flavor of storytelling. So I have these two master teachers that would teach me about storytelling just by me observing them.
So you asked her if are there any blackbirds, or
Canaries,
canaries. So why were you intrigued by black? Like what was intriguing to you about that?
That's a good question. As I'm all dressed in black, I've always just been intrigued by black.
Because I know you went through like a rocker phase in your younger years, but not at 8 years old, right?
Very close to it. Very close to it. Yeah, in middle school, a friend of mine, or this kid that was sitting next to me, Robert. I don't know why, but he just asked me. He's like, "Hey, man, do you like heavy metal?" And I was like, I think I lied. I was like, yeah, of course. Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't listening to heavy metal. I was listening, I think, to Boys to Men because of my sisters. Anyhow.
And Luis Miguel, maybe.
Yeah, Luis Miguel, like other stuff, And I don't know, he was just like, yo, you gotta listen to this. And he handed me this tape, and it was Death, this death metal band called Death. And And I don't know. I really, so just all that stuff like has been very attractive to me. Like the concept of death, and even the again my aunts doing tarot card readings, all that stuff, like the spirit realm. I grew up with that essence, with that culture. Yeah. So my mom would drive us. We grew up in El Paso, but also lived in Juarez, Mexico. So every so often, my mom would, she'd be like, "All right, kids, we're gonna go to Juarez. You're gonna get a cleansing." So she would take us to a shaman, and this person would be like, doing a cleanse on my aura, on my.
And you talk a little bit about this too in the book, right? In other sections of the book, you do mention instances. Yeah. What I found so intriguing about your book, personally for me, is I also grew up on the Tijuana-San Diego border, so I lived this cross-border childhood. So then I hear about your cross-border childhood, but now it's in the desert and in the heat, and it's similar, but it's also different, and that's something that I think when you're a kid and you're living on both sides of the border and experiencing life on both sides of the borders, like it also really opens you up, because both sides are very contrasting.
Yeah, and it's a very rich experience. Yeah. If you are open to see it in that way, it's a very precious, beautiful experience that, truthfully, I wouldn't trade. Yeah. I think I've learned a lot. Like I say in my workshops, I grew up with a lot of contrast. So I grew up in El Paso, being raised in a 1-bedroom apartment, right, with 5 siblings, or total of 5 siblings. But then in Juarez, Mexico, my mom and my parents had a 2-story home, and I had my own bedroom, and it was decorated with all my goodies, comic books and toys, everything that I wanted, it was there, and the reason being was because in Juarez the dollar obviously goes longer, right? Mm. And so living in Juarez, I felt I was abundant, I was rich financially, right? Or at least my parents. But you could feel the contrast. Yeah.
And then once you cross the border in El Paso, you're living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Pretty much sometimes on the floor or a little hammock. Yeah, in the hood.
Total hood.
But hey,
From same rags to riches, you just have to cross the border.
Just cross the border and you see the difference. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing the reading. Again, short and sweet, a little bit of background behind the story. But the intention with this is, if you like to read my story, please comment yes on this post, and I'll send you the PDF file for free. I'm just sharing my story. And again, I think as somebody that is a writer and is storytelling, there's definitely, for me, there was this moment in time, because this is a story I wrote 2017. There was this thing of like, I want to mass share it with everybody, blah, blah, blah.
New York Times bestseller.
But it's this realization that, like, you know what, this particular story was for my heart, and it was for it to proclaim its healing, right? And my connection with the universe. And also, I wrote myself as the best version of myself. So it serves to me as a way to be self-accountable, right? So with that, I want to inspire others to write their own story, so that way they can proclaim their truth and be accountable for that. Because nobody else is going to do that work for you other than you.
Yeah. And the name of the book is called The Crow's Aura, The Path to Forgiveness. So it really is your path to your forgiveness. My own yourself, forgiveness, of others, whatever it may be, but definitely of self first, right? Because that's really where it all starts.
I think when you're younger, you feel that the person that hurt you, or that they wronged you, that that they need to ask for forgiveness, or that they're wrong. But at the end of the day, it's, again,
it comes back to you.
It comes back to you. You gotta heal your heart and forgive, right? Yeah. Anyhow, if you like to learn more about it, or like to read it, please just comment yes on this post, and I'll send you the PDF file of the novel. All right.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah. Next one will be Irene. We'll do a reading, like a pre-reading of your book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people have been waiting anxiously for your book. So
yeah, I think it'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
Yes, it'll be fun.
Okay. Thank you all. We'll see you again soon.
Bye. proves that God is inside all of us. It's time we open our eyes and